What's up guys, this is James, welcome to my channel. I just wanted to show you guys a 2S 75mm Meteor 75 style tiny whoop that I made, and I wanted to show you guys a build video and kind of talk about how I came to build this. So really excited to show you guys this today. This has been a really fun little drone. It is a 75mm with 45mm props based kind of off the Meteor 75 frame and camera. And then it's running a 2S 420 milliamp hour battery. So basically how this all started was I had a Flywoo Firefly Nano Baby, the 2S version, and it was running a Caddx Vista, which is, the DJI Gen 2 camera system, and a lot of fun to fly around, but it was really heavy, and so didn't get great battery life, and it was just it didn't do tricks that well or very easily. So kind of when I set out to make this, I wanted to make that drone into something different that would be a lot lighter, and so I went with analog, and then my main goals were to have a longer flight time. So definitely was able to achieve that with this. It's been super fun. It's super durable. I use this whoop for the IGAO 5 International Game of Whoop 5. Look it up if you don't know. All the competition this year, had a lot of fun with that. It was a little tough with the smaller tricks and stuff. I'd say maybe a 65mm frame like this would be better for that type of thing, but still was able to do it with this. And but it's very durable. Crashed so many times doing that. Was able to I had to, done a couple fixes with where you use heat shrink to fix it up if you have a crack in the frame. Eventually there's just too many cracks and I replaced the frame. But yeah, so that's kind of what I set out to do. I set out to make a super fun little whoop that has good flight times. It has great punch outs and ability with freestyle with the 2S battery, and something that would still be nice and durable and pretty lightweight still. So yeah, I'll just walk you guys through the specs of this real quick. So this is the Beta FPV 75mm frame, the CO3 camera, which comes with the canopy, which is awesome. I have lost the little things back here, unfortunately, during a crash, but awesome camera, awesome canopy. I'm running the HDLRC Zeus Nano VTX in there. It's kind of just tucked on this on the front motor post here, screwed down that way, and then running the little whoop style antenna that came with it on the back. And that's been working pretty well for me. There's definitely it's not the best video quality, so maybe if I'd gone with I don't know, something different, it could be better. I'm not really sure. Or maybe a VTX built in with the camera, maybe I'd have better success. But still, it's been working pretty well for me, and I'm quite happy with it. And then so I'm running 1002 motors on here that are, I believe, 15500 kV, and then the 45mm props. And then so the board that I use is the Flywoo Goku F405 board, which unfortunately is no longer in production. So if you were to try to build this, you'd have to find a different source for that part. And I guess also the motors aren't technically in production, but you could probably find something pretty similar for that. I'll try to put some links in the description. The Goku has a built-in ELRS, so that's kind of just off to the side there. And yeah, before I walk through the build, I will do some weighing for you. So with the 2S 420 milliamp battery, it's a 56.5 grams, which is not so bad. It's pretty heavy for a tiny whoop, but performs really well. The dry weight is 34.5 grams. So just kind of give you a point of comparison. This is the Emax Nano Scout, and it with its battery is the same weight as this thing is entirely. But this definitely handles really well in the wind. And also give you this, I haven't really done too much flying with the larger 750mm battery, but you totally could. But I typically run the 420s because that works pretty well, and I get almost 5.5 minutes of flight time usually. So I've been super happy with that. And the main one of the things that I did do that is going to make this a little bit heavier but more durable, I think, in the long run, is the flight controller that I chose doesn't have the VTX built in. I had to buy a separate VTX, but in my opinion, I just like that because if I crash and break or overheat the VTX, I can just replace the $20 part instead of having to replace the entire flight controller. So that's some extra added weight, but I was happy to have something that's more durable, and thankfully I did end up needing that. I crashed pretty hard one time and broke the VTX, and so was quite happy to just be able to replace that. And I will say one thing that ended up being kind of weird with this build is I have the VTX right here, right under the camera, and it works great. I was able to do a lot of flying, a lot of crashing this way. But one time I tried to switch the camera to the higher angle view with this little piece that comes with the CO3, and for some reason that made it push into like the little button that's on the VTX. And when I did a pretty bad crash, it caused the button to break off, and then the VTX didn't work anymore. So I would definitely recommend don't use the higher angle camera. But otherwise, yeah, highly recommend this build, and I'm gonna show some flight video footage at the end after the build, and I'll kind of talk about how it flies and stuff. So yeah, see you guys on the table to build this thing. Alright guys, so I'm going to walk through how I built this drone. So if you were doing this on your own, you would start out, if you're doing what I did, I already had the motors connected to the flight controller, so they were already soldered on, but when I was transferring the drone, a couple did fall off, so I had to resolder those. So you'll have to solder your motors on to your flight controller, and you can see just there I was testing to make sure it connected to my controller and that the motors all spun, which was great. I will say, and here I am fitting the flight controller into the frame. But as I was saying, I did have to resolder a couple of the motors back on, and a few of them ended up spinning the wrong direction. I just mixed up the wires, so I had to use an ESC configurator to make sure that they are all spinning the correct direction. So you might have to do that as well if you're, for example, I also, when I took this flight controller out of the Flywoo Goku, had to do some motor direction stuff. So we did that, and now we're fitting the flight controller into the motor. And I will say something that I didn't show as a part of this video, but I did clip off the battery tray that came with this stock. It was set up for a 75mm and 1S drone, and so I had to clip off the little battery tray holder, and then I hooked one of the Flywoo TPU battery mounts, and that seemed to work pretty well. And I haven't had any problems with like battery ejections, and it fit perfectly in for the size of battery that I have at least. So highly recommend that. And here I am fitting all the motors in and just screwing them down. Alright, now that I got all the motors in, I'm going to do a quick connect to my controller and just make sure the motors are all still spinning, which is great. Got that in, they're kind of tucked in there, and as you can see, I used the shorter screws that kind of came with my motors from the original drone. And then next I'm going to pull out the video transmitter and the camera. So as you can see here, I actually already have the video transmitter connected to the cameras because I had a version 1 of this drone and then crashed, broke the video transmitter as I discussed earlier in the video. So I'm going to pull it off of that, and then I'm going to put it on the new video transmitter. And what I'm doing is I'm clipping off most of the holes that came with this video transmitter, and then I have the antenna connected there. And basically what I do is I'm going to screw that video transmitter into the very front motor post that the camera is not using. The camera uses the 2 side and 1 back motor post with screws, so that works out perfectly for mounting this thing on the forward motor post without having any issues. So next I'm getting the soldering gun out, and I'm going to do several things. I'm going to pull off the old wires, and then I'm going to get new wires to go to from the video transmitter to the flight controller, and I'm going to tin all of those wires, put a little bit of solder on each end, and I'm also going to add some solder to the video transmitter pads and also the flight controller pads. And then finally I'm going to solder the wires. I'm going to have a ground wire go to a 5-volt ground wire from the flight controller go to the video transmitter, and also a ground wire from the flight controller to the video transmitter. And then there's kind of two ways that you could power the camera. You could have the 5-volt and ground from the video transmitter, which is what I use, and that's the correct way to do it. Originally I had just found a separate 5-volt and ground source from the flight controller, and I powered the camera directly from that. But what happens is you get terrible video quality because for some reason the 5-volt pulses are just slightly out of sync or something like that. So I definitely recommend powering the camera from the 5-volt and ground that are on the on the video transmitter. And so yeah, here I am just kind of tinning all the wires. I have this awesome little 3D printed kind of wire holder that I've been using, which works pretty well for me. And I'll just kind of talk through my general process. I make sure to put a little bit of flux on the wire or the flight controller or video transmitter pad that I'm using. Throw a little bit of flux on there. I've found a little tiny little toothpick works pretty well. And then I wipe away any extra, kind of oxidation, I guess, that's happening on the soldering iron, and then I often kind of dip it in the flux as I go. And I think I'm running, I don't know, pretty hot. I guess it looks like as hot as I can go for my soldering iron to just kind of get in and get out pretty quickly. And I have at least the set that I got, the medium-sized tip on there. And so yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and solder up all those wires, and I'm also going to have a video in wire and UART wire that goes from my flight controller to the video transmitter. That way you can control the output power and stuff using the Betaflight OSD with your joysticks and stuff. So I'll have a wire for that, and then I'll have, you'll have a video out from your wire that will go to the flight controller, and then you'll have a video that will go from the flight controller to the VTX to get sent to your goggles. So yeah, that's all the soldering that I'll be doing, and I'll let you guys watch it out. Alright, so here I am, finished up all the soldering. I'm just going to do a quick plug-in and check with my goggles to make sure that the video feed is working, and it is, which is awesome. Next, I'm going to start screwing in the canopy, and I'll screw the camera into the canopy and the canopy onto the flight controller and everything. So as you guys can see, I used some electrical tape to get all the motor wires and the antenna tape down, so get that everything nice and neatly tucked out of the way. And as you can see, I originally was going to try one of these Foxy or Lollipop antennas, but it just like falls off so easily. I'm not really sure why, but the antenna that came with the VTX is like rock solid, stays on. I've never had it come off ever, I think, and I've crushed it and flown this thing so many times. But for some reason, the Foxy or Lollipop just isn't staying on. I may investigate trying to like find some way to like kind of glue it down or something like that, although I know that's kind of like, I might not want to mess with that. I would love to see if the I have heard that this antenna is good for tiny whoops and can kind of give you better signal, which is something that I would love to have. You know, not that it's awful as you'll see in the flight videos, but there's like a little bit of scrolling and stuff with at least the current setup that I used. So I would love to have a slightly better antenna, but I don't know, for now I'll just use the whoop one and the one that came with the the VTX. So that'll work pretty well. But yeah, I'll get everything taped down and then yeah, install the props and we'll be ready to go. Awesome, so getting the props on and we'll plug it in, make sure the motor's spinning and everything, and we are good to freaking go. So happy with this build. Let's go fly it. What's up everybody? Wanted to just take you guys out for a quick test flight or a demonstration flight of this little 75mm 2S that I made. I've been super happy flying this thing around, having so much fun. So just wanted to do a little demonstration, show you guys what it's like. First of all, I just love the flight times that you can get with this guy. I can get maybe 5.5 minutes of kind of cruise with a little bit of freestyle thrown in there. So I really enjoy that. You know, if you're doing straight freestyle, a little bit less than that. I don't know, maybe very gentle cruising, maybe even longer than that. So really love that a lot. And then I love how you can get awesome like punches and flips with this thing. I'll show you real quick. Woo! It just has awesome, like, you know, great authority with those 45mm props, and then the 2S battery just so much better than a 1S when it comes to that kind of thing. You can really just kind of dial in your flips and your rolls, and it's, I don't know, just super fun. I love it so much for that. And then I also really enjoy the durability that this guy has. It's, you know, it's a little bit heavy, but you can still crash it really hard, which I have done a lot. And I broke a VTX, but, you know, $20 you can replace it, not so bad. So yeah, very durable. You know, frames are definitely a hassle to fix, but you can definitely fix them for, you know, get a new frame for $5 or something like that. So all in all, been super happy with it. Next, I'll talk about the camera for a minute. I've only owned 3 tiny whoops, but this Beta FPV CO3 camera is like really fantastic. You can, I mean, at least for analog, to me at least, it seems amazing. You can really see everything. It offers, like, you know, great detail for when you're up close to stuff. Yeah, just for analog, this feels great, and, you know, it's so light too. So highly recommend the Beta FPV CO3. As you can see there, I'm definitely don't have my analog system optimized perfectly. I get some stuttering, and kind of depends on where I am, I guess. Somewhat in relation to my goggles and whatnot. I could probably dial that in a little bit better. Maybe get better camera. Better VTX antenna. Maybe get better antennas for my receiver. I'm using this BDB receiver, the yellow one, on my DJI goggles V2. So I've been pretty happy with that. But yeah, you definitely get some stuttering here and there, and then pretty frequently I'll get some lines kind of popping across the screen. But it's analog, you know. We're mostly going for durability and lightweight here, so super happy with that. Yeah, I just love how this thing like stops on a dime, really turns on a dime, and then at the same time it's super easy to control. Has great nimbleness, I guess you might say. Like I can just kind of come through this little bush here, no problem. At least it didn't crash. yeah, I've been loving this thing. And it's not so loud at all either. It's definitely, you know, compared to a it's definitely a bit louder than a, you know, like a 65 millimeter 1S, but yeah, I've been super happy with it. And it can definitely, like right now, it's been pretty calm as I've been flying today, but right now the weather app was saying, you know, up to 10-mile-an-hour gusts, and it definitely gets thrown around a little bit, but you know, that extra 2S battery, I'm using a 420 milliamp hour 2S battery, so it definitely has quite a bit more heft than like a, you know, 1S 65 millimeter whoop, so pretty happy with that. And yeah, as you can see, I'm already nearing 5 minutes and still only at 3.5 volts on my battery, which is awesome. This has been mostly cruisy, but yeah, kind of the main reasons that I wanted to build this little guy was for, I got tired of switching out tiny little like 1S batteries, and you know, that you only get sometimes, like if you freestyle one of those little 65 millimeter whoops, you only get a few minutes of, maybe 3 minutes of flight time. I was looking for a little bit more than that. I just got tired of switching out batteries and whatnot. Here we go, probably better head back now. But yeah, super happy with it, love it, and yeah, just wanted to show you guys how it flies today. Hope you guys appreciate this, and I'll see you guys in the next one.